I'm gonna go back in. Let me see.
Oh, it's live. I've just done it live now.
Oh. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Ball Over Passion. Been so long. We've had some technical difficulties trying to sort it, but we're back, and it's been a while, and excited to kind of just get right into it, because I just feel like between the three of us, we're going to have some interesting levels of debate, and we'll get into kind of the Aston Villa kind of post-mortem, and then we'll do a little bit of probably just title talk, where the team is, where you see the team going, because I think we have a little bit of different views, which should probably be a little bit more exciting, but maybe we'll save that for the end. But first and foremost, how are you both doing? Chris, Curran, we'll go to Chris first. How you doing, mate? Trim, Bob's back, Trim's back.
Yeah, been a while, been a couple months, but yeah, Bob's back. Happy to be back. Happy to talk football. Yeah, Arsenal's doing well. Last game wasn't too good, but in general, this year has been great to watch football. Not just Arsenal, but other football like City, 27 unbeaten. Liverpool just dropped points for the first time in a while. So yeah, I think the running's been good. But me, you know me, I'm just pretty calm going into the last couple of games of the season.
That's good. It's good. You know what? I agree with you. Like, I mean, I think for the most part, we have a little bit of an opposite reaction to most of the fans, but the timeline's been absolutely crazy. I'm excited to talk the game, because I think that there's been a couple of tactical things that we can talk about. Because I think there's been actually some weird narratives about kind of the team in general and what we've been able to face. But straight away, thank you, Mafia. Welcome back. It's good to be back. We appreciate. Thank you for your contribution. Really appreciate that. Lastly, let's go to Curran. All right, mate, how you doing? You're in dodgy scenarios of Wi-Fi, guys. I was here early for once, so
yeah, he was.
Me and you, George. You know, so
it doesn't really happen that often. Yeah, I mean, I've been good. I mean,
world traveler.
I've been out of the country since, February now? So that's just over 3 months. I've been meaning to do this trip for a while, and it's been good just to get out of England and not be trapped in that same mundane thing. So it's been tough. I know. I love it. Everyone has been very busy, but yeah, it's nice just to get away for a couple of months. And yeah, if the internet stays true, then I'll be here the entire time, hopefully. So interested to talk about what's going on with the games. And yeah, apparently one loss in 2024 means that we're just everything's coming to a close and get the manager out.
Arsenal haven't been in a losing minute since New Year's Eve, and we've done it for only 45 minutes, and yet there are questions about the team. That is where I really struggle with. But look, before we get into like the big things, I'm going to stay with Curran. Let's talk the game. Let's talk the lineup initially. You get the lineup, it comes out. How are you feeling in terms of the setup? I think it's fair to say that the last time that we saw Kai Havertz in left 8 position wasn't great. I think his sample there in general hasn't been great. So I think you also see Zinchenko, who had that, again, another player, probably the left back and the left central midfield are two areas that I think you could say are questions in the team broadly across this season. A lot of people have been tried in those positions. When you saw the lineup, are you sitting there saying, I'm worried, or are you saying, no, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with what I'm seeing right now?
No, I mean, we saw Mikel try to rotate before against Luton, and I thought it worked fairly well. And it's clear that we're trying to manage the run in a bit more conservatively as we were in the past couple of years. And I think Mikel's trying to learn from mistakes in the past. But when you see that there's guys there that just can't physically go for 90 minutes, you're looking at Jesus, Zinchenko. These guys aren't built for 90 minutes anymore. So I'm not looking at it and being overly enthused by the lineup. I think Jesus is much more suited to the UCL type of game where the spacing is a bit more, a bit more open. He can get his dribbles off, and he can get into spaces and have a bit more time on the ball. But in this league, you can't, especially against an Emery team where they're going to sit back and they're going to try to reduce the space in the middle. I didn't feel comfortable having him there. I didn't feel having Diaby versus Zinchenko, I didn't feel comfortable with that either. There was key battles I thought that we could quite easily lose, and I mean I wasn't really I wasn't really thinking, oh, we're going to lose this, but I wasn't overly enthusiastic by this. I mean, this is a team that is fourth in the league, and we had to take it seriously. And there were times where I could understand the plan from Mikel being the Zinchenko over the top ball to Havertz to run inside and run behind, and have him maybe cut back or shoot himself. And I think that was the plan. But I also think that you have to respect the opposition at times, and I don't think we did it in this game at times, because their biggest weapons, we put our least adaptable fullback on to deal with those weapons, Kivior and Tomiyasu on the bench. I didn't really understand that. I thought if you're going to look for a bounce game for Tomiyasu, it would be this one, especially with Sane coming up in midweek. So I don't know. I was happy. I wasn't happy. I was very mixed on this lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to go to Chris, but generally speaking, I felt like I'm looking at the lineup, and I had more question marks with Havertz than I did with Zinchenko for this match, especially without a Kamara and a Douglas Luiz midfield and against Villa. Do I love when Zinchenko starts? I don't, but I'll be honest, I felt like this was an opportunity for us to really pen Aston Villa in and play against a low block, because while still having transition threats, they didn't have a midfield that was really their first choice midfield. And so we know that they play this kind of suicidal high line. And the question for me was, I think Zinchenko can exploit that. I think Kivior could have done the same. For example, those clip balls over the top is something that we saw Zinchenko do brilliantly in the match, actually. But I think Kivior has full capacity to do those. He was doing that in form for the last 8 games. The question for me was the Havertz decisions in terms of having him in the 8 and how he would actually function, which actually went brilliantly to plan when we saw it. But for you, did you have questions on the lineup? Would you have done anything differently in terms of the lineup decisions, or were you generally looking at it saying, okay, maybe not exactly what I would choose, but I'm not seeing anything catastrophic?
I didn't. Well, initially I wanted a big change, like from midweek straight after Bayern. I wanted us to make subs, because that would have been 3 games in 8 days. And we started the same lineup basically. Well, like 8-9 of the players started every game. Brighton, Bayern, and Aston Villa. I didn't think that would have been productive. The team could have beaten Villa. I think the team we started, obviously, I think we had the second most shots in a half we've had all season at home. So the team was definitely capable, but I would have started like Partey, Smith Rowe. My lineup was very different. It's the same, like pretty similar to the Luton one. Not to disrespect Villa, but also Villa played 2 days later than us in the week. They played on Thursday, we played on Tuesday. They were probably a bit more, or they should have been a bit more tired than us, but they managed the game better than us. But yeah, I think the lineup, we've just used it too many times consecutively.
I think the frustrating thing in terms of the lineup is you've got basically Saliba and Ben White playing 90 minutes against Luton, which for me is the issue, right? Like, I think, look, physicality is going to be something that we have to talk about, because there was a clear drop-off in the second half in terms of our potential to really meet players. And there was a clear physical drop-off in the team. But I think just generally speaking, Mikel has to do a lot better in terms of his proactivity of fitness and squad management. Like, that includes recognizing that you've got players, not just as you're saying, Chris, in terms of playing multiple games in a week, but I think Saliba and Ben White have both played the most minutes in the squad. And you're looking at like trying to make sure to stop a problem. We don't see Ben White strapped up in all of those pre-match videos. He himself has already gone through a major issue earlier in the season that he's played through. I mean, like, we're talking about something that I think Mikel has struggled to do his entire career with us, to be honest with you. So from my personal perspective, I think the lineup was fine. I thought it could beat Villa, but I think I was just left frustrated essentially with a coach that I think isn't doing his best to anticipate issues from a fitness perspective. That's only really been my biggest frustration. But in terms of the first half, I think this is going to be a really happy part of the podcast, because, guys, I don't know about you, we came out of the gate brilliantly. And I thought that first half was phenomenal. Our way of approaching kind of the last line with Havertz starting deep to really exploit those runs behind. I think we left roughly 3 goals on the pitch, and I'm being very generous there. The amount of times I think Havertz is through on goal at least twice alone. Trossard has the brilliant chance himself. Saka gets sent through and has the near post shot that's brilliant as well. There was a lot of goals left on that pitch. Curran, I'll go to you first. That first half. Any complaints? It almost seemed inevitable that a goal was on the way.
Not complaints. I think that's the wrong word to use. I think frustration at the fact that we're still 0-0. I think that was the main thing for me. And a lot of these games, and we've discussed this personally, I think a lot of the games that we lose this season is just because when we have the advantage, we're not able to, put that first goal in and get the ball moving and just get the ball into the back of the net at times. And we've discussed at length, all three of us, the need for investment in our forward line. And it's quite evident today that Sunday, that we weren't able to just get it over the line. We weren't able to put the ball in the back of the net, whether it be from the bench, from starters. And the second thing is we're leaving players that can put the ball in the back of the net in situations where they can't. So you're looking at the likes of Trossard being as wide as he was. You're looking at the likes of Saka and Ødegaard being, look, their partnership has been brilliant, but the entire second half, when we get into the second half, it was just clogged. We're clogged on that side of the pitch, and there's no balance in terms of being able to distribute the ball on both sides of the pitch, try to create a chance, try to create an opening. And it's from guys playing getting there in each other's way and just not being able to put players in positions where they can put the ball in the back of the net. I mean, we look at the Trossard chance, those kind of chances. Why is that one chance? Why is that the one chance we make?
Well, I don't even think it's one
four
chance though,
chances
mate.
in that. I think you're muted.
I don't even think it's one chance though. Like I'll try to push back because at least the first half, I'm with you on the second. Kai Havertz has through on goal multiple times. Saka has a back post header to Jesus. The Trossard chance is within a 6-yard box. He just has to put it to the side of the goalkeeper. Saka through ball from Ødegaard, who hits a tight angle. Why doesn't he shoot across? Like, we entered their box and had legitimately 3 to 4 brilliant chances that I don't care how clinical. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't even think it's just a clinical thing. Like, you have to look at that half and say it was a repeat of December in a sense where you're generating so many shots and nobody is taking their chances, which is a frustration I get. But you know what? Those 45 minutes can happen for me. Like, I really have a lot of criticism for the second half. But for the first half, I sat there saying this is some of the best football that we've played in quite a while. We really started out strong for me. And I don't think Villa had very many answers, to be honest with you. I mean, the Ollie Watkins chance in the first half off the woodwork is a really poor shot location, and he does brilliantly to dig out a shot. But other than that...
He even came from a mistake from Gabriel passing on to Zinchenko's back. Like, they didn't create anything.
No.
I think they should have had a couple yellows. They had one. But, I think the first half we really dominated. And then, Havertz... Well, them 2 chances. The first one, he just slowed down and let everyone get back into the play, affect him, and then he shot across goal, didn't go in. And the second time he missed again. But the Havertz, I mean, the Trossard chance was, I don't remember the exact XG, but it was ridiculous. That I don't think he should even miss that.
And of all players, him, like, if you were to
exactly.
describe like ball striking in the penalty box, you can make an argument that Trossard is our best finisher in the box and amongst one of the best ball strikers of the team. It was just so uncharacteristic. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. When that chance didn't go in, I sat there. There was part of me thinking, is it going to be one of those days? Because that's such a clear chance. And off the back of the mini chances, the Jesus post, or not post, sorry, but the back post header, that for me, guys, is an open net. If you have anybody over 5'8", you're in. I knew you would laugh at that, but
I think the forwards, like, I watched Villa the week before versus Brentford, and like Wissa and Mbeumo killed them in the second half. Just the movement, their centre backs couldn't really handle it, and then the second half, when the intensity dropped, I know we'll get into it more, but I think with the intensity in that first half of Trossard and Havertz and Jesus, they couldn't stop it. Like the movement, we always had a 3-man in the box. They could I think we had 10 shots in the box, 14 shots altogether. Yeah, it was just from 14 shots, not scoring one time and having only 3 shots on target. It really just is poor finishing. Like, and I don't think we do it again this season where we generate that many shots, that many good quality chances, and then not take it and then fall off as bad as we did in the second half was so negative to see. But yeah, I think next game we play, is obviously tomorrow. But I think in the Premier League, we really need to see some changes because these players can't. Like he uses the starting 11 and then Jesus and Trossard. No one else really gets starts apart from in that Luton game. And to do what we want to do, which is the double essentially, I think he has to use at least 6 more players than he's regularly using now. But
well, part of the problem is that you can't expect people to basically come in and start like they've been starting for months, right?
Yeah.
And I think like that proactive squad management is definitely a question. It's something that we've been talking about on this channel for so long. But Colonel, I'm going to go to you. So you're entering halftime right off the back of, I don't know, like what we can probably agree it was a really top performance. You're going into it. Did you want any changes? Like what was your mindset going into the second half before what we saw?
I mean, look, before the second half started, my only thing was the same as when the first half started. How long will we keep Zinchenko on the pitch? I think that's the main thing for me. Seriously, I'm not even trying to single him out, but we know that the guy fades as the game goes on. He doesn't keep that same intensity for 90 minutes. You know, he starts with winning aerials. He starts off with trying to win duels and try to be, you know, a defender. And then as 65, 70 minutes goes on, he just tries to just, you know, play these between the lines balls. He doesn't really defend. So that was genuinely my major thought was, how are we going to keep Zinchenko on the field? And if he does stay, and hopefully if he doesn't stay after maybe 55, 60, 65 minutes, who are we going to bring on? Like, I understand that White's walking wounded right now, but if you're going to bring White off, you've got to bring Zinchenko off. You can't have Tomiyasu, who doesn't really offer the same versatility going forward, and Zinchenko on the same pitch, who won't offer the same versatility going back. It's just not possible. You have to do either or with that. So
I think the frustrating thing for me is, mate, like, and I have to hold my hands up. I don't like Kai Havertz in central midfield. I really don't. I really believe that it's an issue. But against Villa, it worked beautifully. Like in terms of a plan against a mid block, we were able to really create. I think half of that is just because of how suicidal the high line is. By the way, we must have had so many offsides. Villa have the most. I forget the stat, but they are the ones that provoke the most offsides because of their line. So it was definitely something where you could see like a clip ball over the top was easy. And so that's why I look at Kivior, I look at Jorginho, who ironically, again, not somebody that's had the best of time in recent games, but that ball over the top was something that we were always going to be able to exploit from Villa. The frustrating thing is I'm kind of with you in terms of the Zinchenko debate, where it's really frustrating that we've got the one person who is supposed to be the experience in the squad, but continuously doesn't learn from their mistakes and continuously is overtly emotional and build up and trying to overcomplicate decisions that I think that, you know, you wouldn't expect of somebody that is supposed to be the leader in the squad at. And, you know, I think in general, it's tough because I have to be fair and I have to be objective. I think in the first half, he was one of our best players. But I could just see signs of him overdoing, overcommitting and build up. And I could just say, you know what, the defensive issue is going to arise if we keep him on this pitch. Chris, like for you, is there scope to say like maybe the plan was to blitz early, get a 2-goal lead and then start the changes? Maybe that was the plan, but it didn't go to plan. And there was an element of Mikel basically saying, I need to see another 15, 20 minutes of hopefully trying to push for the goal, or like where do you stand on a player that definitely seems to only give you a good 30, 40 minutes in a game?
I think when you dominate like that, it's like the first half, like it's hard to say at halftime make some subs. Like it's very hard as a human, like even a manager, just to sit there in a change room and go in there and tell like, oh, Zinchenko, you've been incredible in this first half. You created 2 one-on-one opportunities. You were involved in the build-up to a lot of our shots, but you have to come off. Like, it doesn't really make much sense. But then after 10 minutes, when you see that we're really killing ourselves, like I think in the first 15 minutes of that second half, they hit the bar twice. So that's
Yeah.
even before the goals come, you can see we're drowning. Like, I think that's another thing he does. Like, he sees us drowning. I can see, if I'm sitting at home on TV and I can see it, then I can see that we're drowning. He never really like pulls his players out. He just wants to see them fix it for themselves. But the reason you have a squad is to take players out of the situation where they're harming themselves. We've seen Zinchenko time and time again start a game incredibly, then he just loses his defensive matchup. Like, he'll either lose him behind or just lose the one-on-one, be weak in the tackle, like something will go wrong and it will end up in a chance. So I think you have to take him off before that. And now, if the plan was to, say, go 2-0 up in the first half, then bring on Emil and Partey, whoever you want to bring on to close up shop, after 55, where it's a completely different football match, then your plan has to change. You have to adapt. Yeah, he really has to adapt his plan. Like, we saw the 1v1s just more and more. Even when Bailey came on, it just increased. Like, he was 1v1 all the time. And we know he's not going to win 1v1s versus a rubbish winger, let alone Bailey, who's been on 4 more seasons pretty much. So, yeah, Arteta should have taken him off. But not just him. Like, Jorginho, bringing Jorginho on made no sense to me. Like, we're struggling to keep shots away from our goal. Let's bring on someone who's going to allow people to go past him, give the ball away easily. He's not going to bring us up the pitch because he doesn't carry the ball. So, like, Jorginho was a horrible sub for me. And keeping Zinchenko on for 88 minutes, I think, was another horrible decision, because by then, the game's done. Like, 88th minute, 2-0 down, the game is done. So and then he made 2 subs.
I've got 2 concepts to talk about. I'm going to stick with Chris because I'm going to leave Curran to basically do a post that he already did on X, and something that's been something that I've yelled into the void about for a while. So I will give him that concept. But first, I'll stick with you for a second. On the substitutions and this physical drop-off, one of my biggest frustrations was taking off Ode and basically Ben White in a double substitute, basically taking off 2 of your most physical out-of-possession players. Again, the time for rest was Luton. If there was an issue and there was a problem for it, you were up 2-0 at Luton. Why did they have to play 90 minutes? They could have played 60 and got taken off, but then now you're taking off 2 of your most physical players against a team that is physical themselves and is transition-based. And one of the biggest issues I've got made is I think Bayern and Villa actually had very similar game states. When we've suddenly allowed transitions to creep into the game, and we both know that's not something that's made Arsenal strong this season. What has set us apart is our ability to compete for second balls, our ability to maintain a press and basically not allow opposition to run through us. But it seems as though when, in the last couple games at least, we've started to get really emotional. I think we've been playing far too vertical when we get into those transition states and we start punching the ball through. And I mean, you can even see Declan Rice in the 60th minute. The ball goes out and he's basically telling the crowd and everybody to try to calm down. But I just think that we're overtly vertical in possession when we don't need to be. We almost get worried that there's an expectation on us and we start to rush our actions. And it's why it even made me even more perplexed. I think the idea with Jorginho was this: get somebody that's going to recycle the ball and look after it. But problem, Mikel, he hasn't done that for almost 4 weeks. And Jorginho has been somebody that's really struggled in possession for a while. So I think, look, you're caught between a hard and a rock place because you're choosing somebody that's out of form in Jorginho with the idea that he's a profile that helps that, or you're choosing basically a player in Thomas Partey who's unfit. Right now hasn't looked good in any of the cameos he's come in, but the theory of what he could be, fixes the problem that we're dealing with. So where do you stand on that, like that gamble? Like, what would you like to see in terms of, let's say, Bayern, Wolves, by the way? These are both transition games that are coming up, physical games that we both know that we're going to deal with these problems again. Where do you stand on choosing somebody that's out of form versus somebody that's unfit, but we know the past? Like, where do you think we should be?
Well, before the first leg of Bayern, I was saying on Twitter that Jorginho shouldn't start another game this season.
How annoying is it when I lead the question with the answer?
Yeah, but I think that Jorginho, obviously, like his rep has gone up in the Arsenal ranks this season. I think he's had some good games, some horrible games, and he'll probably still play 85
He's done what a
minutes.
third choice DM needs to do.
Yeah, he'll play 85 minutes, regardless of what he's done on the pitch. Bad or good, we'll just keep him there. Like, even the Porto game, he should have came off early. City game should have came off early. But yeah, I think Jorginho shouldn't start another game for us. I think with the way our legs are going, especially the last 2 games, like our players are really kind of dying after the 65th minute in both Bayern and Villa. If that's happening, Jorginho can't be brought on, and he can't be on the pitch at that time because people are running for him. So if people are going to run for him when the whole team is pretty much dead and they have to cover even more space because Jorginho and Zinchenko don't take responsibility, then we're going to concede the chances we did against Villa. And then the party thing is, in the one start he had a very good game. In the one start he's had since he's been back, he's had a very good game. Coming off the bench, he hasn't really played well in many games. He's had moments like the Bayern pass to Saka. That was a moment which probably should have resulted in a goal, win the game 3-2. The second leg is a very different story. But yeah, he's had a moment. So I think if from the evidences, we should start Partey when he's played well, he starts the game. I think we should start him simply because he has legs and Rice doesn't. Like, I love Rice, but his legs have gone a bit recently, and he starts every single match. I think he started 3 games in 8 days. Like, that shouldn't happen. He wasn't even doing that
So did Ben.
Yeah, even at West Ham, there was games where he didn't start in the league. Like, you don't start him every single game. Saliba started the third most minutes in the league, in the whole Premier League. He doesn't get a rest. So yeah, I think those players need a rest. It will change the game state in a different, like versus Wolves. Resting Rice and resting Saliba could allow them more into the game, but at this point, it's a risk you have to take. Otherwise, you're going to kill the players. And then this time in May, we won't be in anything, I don't think. But yeah, I think my main thing is Jorginho can't start. And guys like Reece Nelson, Eddie, who seems to be ostracized, doesn't really play. Reece and Mill should start at least 3 of the next however many games we have in all comps. How many do we have if we go to the final? 8. They should start 3 or 4 at least, I think, because other players are really dead. And if Arteta doesn't do that, we probably end up finishing 3rd and getting knocked out in the quarters if he doesn't use the squad.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a frustration because I think it's something that's not new on this channel, at least. But Curran, I've left you a lot of meat, and I haven't even talked about winger and central midfielder compliments. So before I say more, I will allow you the platform. Clearly, the biggest issue, you kind of made an allude to it in the first part when you talked about everybody clogging on the right. For you, did the balance? Was there a tactical reason that things went off the rail so much? Do you think it's just simply physicality, or do you think like the picture of us basically seeing Martinelli so isolated is just a common thing that we've seen all season that is just a frustration that we basically need the transfer market to fix?
No, I'm gonna quote the post you're referring to on X. I'm gonna get into my my idiot podcaster bag here. We tried to have sex on the right hand side of the pitch, and we decided to leave Martinelli out of it. That's kind of what's happened with our team this year. You can see by any metric you want, pass maps, position maps, heat maps, any kind of map, where the touches occur, we continuously tried to shift the ball down the right hand side, and at times it's worked. You look at winners versus Brentford for Havertz, where we've got the ball on the right side. got to the edge of the edge of the box and crossed in for him at the back post. We could look at the Trossard goal versus Chelsea to equalise. Same thing. The theory is you have two creators on one side and a runner / a finisher, two of them on the other side, and you crash the back post and you get them in behind and get them into space where they can get easy goals. The downside to that is you're losing the most basic runs in football, the run behind the fullback into the box. Something Marcelli does to a great aplomb, something Trossard did against Porto to get us back in that game. You're losing that. And we've forgotten that there are two sides of the pitch. I don't know why. I don't know if that's by design. If it's not by design, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is it to maximize the space for Martinelli so he can get the runs that he needs? You see in interviews with Marcelli, he says that, oh, the coaching staff asked me why I came central. I was meant to stay wide, and I scored. Well, it's because he does his best work in the box in central areas, and we don't facilitate that at all. And this is a guy that got 15 goals last year, 15 on penalty goals, having a great season, really contributed to our title charge, and turned up in the run-in. And we've made a conscious decision to not allow him to have someone to pass him the ball inside, so he can make the correct footballing run to get behind the fullback, get into the box, and shoot. We've decided to abandon that for half-space crosses, and it's for me. I don't know if that's something that we need to fix in the transfer window. If it's tactical, the only thing I can think of is we're trying to use his aerial ability with Havertz, because Marcelli's great in the air as well. Is that,
but you know what's
that
weird, Kate? Like, we don't even go for a back post cross to Kai Havertz floating in. Like, we've rinsed that in Mikel's first season, the quick switch from the underloaded side.
Yeah.
And, even the Jesus chance, like, why is Kai Havertz? Why are we not able to replicate that? Like, I don't even, because I'll be honest with you, I know why. I don't think Kai Havertz is as good aerially as people like to say on Twitter. I mean, he's a good outlet in terms of
just a
competing
big frame.
Yeah, he's a big frame, but he's not aggressive in any of his heading, in the box.
Action. I'll take it further. Yeah, he's not aggressive in any action. There's nothing he does.
In possession, it's very much, he's a player that lets the game come to him. And, he's really frustrating because, I'll be honest, as a coach, I'd look at Kai Havertz and I'd say, I can fix you. The girls that look at you.
Yeah.
I can fix you. He's the Murata of coaches.
Yeah, Murata, yeah.
He's got tons of brilliant quality, but just, that ability to really take the game by the scruff of the neck. I've seen it once against Newcastle, and you did it by shoulder barging. I just feel like you can be so more. You can be so much more if you just had it. But I get distracted. I think, Chris, I want to allow you in on this conversation too. Look, I don't have too much to say because I've already said it so much, both on here, on Twitter. So I'll let you have a talk. Like, what do you think the change could be going forward? Because we've all talked about why it annoys us, and I think we're all the same on why it annoys us. But going forward, how do you see us fitting all of these pieces? And I mean, having a Kai Havertz, because as much as I don't love it, there is a way that I feel that we can fit him and have Martinelli more central. How do you like to solve this going forward?
Simply Emil Smith role, really. I think left centre mid, the disconnect really has come from one, just switching the player who plays there. Sometimes it's Trossard. Sometimes we see the lineup: Trossard, Jesus, Havertz, and we have no clue who's playing there. We guess it's going to be Havertz. Sometimes it's Havertz up top, Jesus left wing, and then Trossard in the midfield. I think that constant change just between them three players has been an issue. I think when Trossard plays centre mid, even when he doesn't really drift that wide because he wants to be central, when he's playing on the left wing, he drifts centrally. So I think the connection between Martinelli and anyone really has disappeared because Kyrgios isn't really a consistent overlap. He doesn't have the explosiveness of a White to call it a partnership like White and Saka. Like, they're always so close. They combine and like they rotate and all that stuff. But Martinelli can't really do that with Zinchenko or Kyrgios. Tomiyasu hasn't been left back consistently enough to build a partnership. Smith Rowe now doesn't play enough. But yeah, for me, I'd play Smith Rowe. I think the most fluid we've looked for 60, 70-minute period in a while was that Luton game. Obviously, Luton is the worst team we've played in a while, but like we still went through them so easily with Partey and Smith Rowe. The passes that them two just play between the line and releasing players early, because I think another issue is that Odegaard recently has slowed down, but when he was passing to Saka, like releasing the ball early, you give him 1v1 opportunities. And I think if you give Martinelli multiple 1v1 opportunities throughout a game, the complaints about his performances will decrease. He'll play a lot better because he'll be in positions where he actually has success. But we don't put him in positions to succeed because we always pass him 2v1. And when he's 2v1, he's going to put his head down, try and knock it down the byline and go around it. But how many times can he do that successfully? We've seen this season, not many. I don't know how many goals he scored this season. I don't remember the last time he even scored this season. But yeah, I think with Martinelli, he needs something to combine with. There's no connect with him and the team. That image on Sunday was scary. Like it was very different with Trossard when Trossard was on the team. But when Martinelli came in, like that line to the rest of the team he was so isolated, and I think just give him someone to combine with first of all.
And you know the crazy thing? It's not even as though that we switch effectively to the wide positions. Like you can maybe make an argument. You want them touch line to allow for space so that they can run into, but we don't. We're like 17th or 18th in the league for long switches, which is ridiculous. And by the way, guess who's second and third? Liverpool and City. So it's definitely something that we can work on. I'm tired of kind of repeating the same arguments back and forth because I feel like it's like you're talking down to the same thing. But fundamentally, guys, in terms of just the breakdown, really, the goals are difficult for me to talk about because I just think they're just really poor goals. Like I don't think there's a terrible amount of analysis that's involved. I think it's really ridiculous in terms of at least the second goal, that one pass basically over the top, and Emile Smith was the only one running back. It shows how much of a physical drop-off there is, but I mean, brilliant chip by Ollie Watkins, but it's so poor. Like the decision to pass where Jorginho is, it's a poor decision. There's nothing terribly big.
Nothing on that. Martinelli was offside. The pass didn't make any sense.
Why didn't he recycle the ball?
Been doing recently, he just gives the ball away just because there's nothing on. Like that, the risk wasn't worth it. And yeah, imagine if Emile wasn't there, like what would Raya have looked like? Because in 1v1s he's not too good. Emile did as well as he could to even make that a hard chance. But yeah, I think all season we don't concede them since like Nottingham Forest. I don't remember conceding chances where it's just one defender, one attacker, and you're just having them defend an island.
And if people remember, for me, I mean, yes, it was with Rob Holding, but when this team runs like that, we don't control matches. The superstar has been the press, the second ball winning, and the ability to cut those chances out. And so if Arsenal aren't going to engage in that type of game state, I feel like they're always going to struggle. And they're going to struggle because they don't have a transitional inevitability as an attacker to ever make those game states work. I think Liverpool can run that way because not only do they have a defense that, or at least a midfield that they like to bypass, but they have Salah. They have an inevitable transitional attacker.
But as we've seen, it catches up. Conceding that many chances will catch up to you. And the one time we concede 10 plus shots in a game, look what happens.
Well, exactly. And so I don't know. I want to throw it back to you, Curran, to give your last thoughts. Like, do you have much on the loss and the conceded, or do you want to get into where this team is at right now?
Look, one loss in 2024 is not concerning. I don't really care about the one loss. It's where I didn't think what I said to both of you. I don't think I really care about this team until they showed me that in the run-in they can stand up, and they don't have the squad to stand up when we need it the most. We have guys like Thomas Partey, guys like El Neni, Cedric. These guys just hanging on to the squad, even though they will leave at some point. Jorginho, another one. we don't have guys that are willing to step in. Like look at someone like Gundogan throughout the years.
Do we
don't
not have the
guy.
guys, or do we not have the manager that trusts them?
Both, absolutely
But
both.
I think the guys have been there. This last year, they weren't there, like as in like they weren't fit. I think this time through March, through April, these players have been available. They just haven't been used.
I agree, but I can't say that that's 100% on the manager or that's 100% on the players. I don't know what they're like in training, and we don't know what the dynamics are. I'm willing to put it on both of them. I think that the players either haven't got the necessary quality or the necessary ability or fitness-wise to stand up in the run-in, or the manager isn't willing to get them into match fitness when we need them the most. And that's what's most concerning to me, and because it's happened every single year he's been here, and that's why I'm concerned.
Well, can I ask for this, because like I think me and Chris have a different opinion on the run-in, but generally, like I want to be able to define the poor run-in is, what a good run-in is, and what should be realistic expectation. Because not from you, but I think this is a bigger debate in the fan base. One of my frustrations is I'm starting to see people talk about expectations that they never had in January, that they never had in December. Like, are we understanding that we've just gone 4 months without losing a minute? A losing minute. No one was expecting that response. Okay, the December point pissed people off, and they said we've made it difficult. We haven't given ourselves a cushion in the run-in. But nobody was telling me that they were expecting a 4-month period where we would go unbeaten. And not just unbeaten.
No.
Like
I wasn't
basically not
expecting
having a losing minute. So I guess
these guys have
struggling.
overperformed me for the last 3 to 4 months. They've definitely overperformed. It's quite clear. And they've done very well. But the thing is, for me, is we've had to put ourselves in a situation where we've had to do that just to keep ourselves in the running for anything this season. And it goes to the point that when you have the inability to recover from losses, like we did Fulham, West Ham, or the inability to when it's brightest, like Bayern at home, when they have no fans, there should be an ability to say, look, I need someone that is able to really take me there. I need the ability to have someone that maybe a clinical centre forward or a tricky winger to come off the bench to really impact the game. We don't have those game changers from the bench, or someone with a different energy. That's what I'm worried about, and that's why I'm worried about going forward. Are we going to keep having these lapses of 2-3 games and then going, okay, we're going to have to just try and play it just as close as we can to try and keep ourselves in it, and then when it gets to the point where we're in the last 2-3 games, it just slips out of our hands. That's what's worrying.
Surely, despite not having a Haaland, De Bruyne, Salah, we don't have a murderer or a killer, as people would say, but we've been the best collective unit. That's what's gotten us to
100%, 100%,
with the most goals scored.
Yeah, so
most goals scored, best defense.
Isn't it evident that when he stretches the unit as far as possible, without using the other things, like there's leftovers in the unit that he doesn't use, like it could be even more powerful in a sense. He doesn't.
And that's where my frustration comes from, is because either the unit isn't to a standard where they can impact. The managers decided they don't have the standard to impact the team.
I think at this
take the
point,
burden, or the manager isn't able to get the most out of the squad. That's the problem. And I think outside of like 12 to 13 or 14 players, you still need 18, 19. You can't just have like the 11 plus Trossard, Jorginho, and maybe Nketiah at points. It's not enough. We need more to really really actually get the team through the hard moments.
But
and whether it be energy in terms of youth or experience, you need something.
There's no evidence to suggest that the players that he brings in he'll use, because at this point the whole squad is his. These are his players. These are the players that he's paid money for. These are the players he's wanted. And
which is even more frustrating.
He talks about Smith Rowe like he's incredible in the media and whatever. I know you can't take like too much into what he says because he says whatever.
Yeah.
But he goes into a game like this, like Bayern, or for example, where you're 2-1 down and that, he makes the subs a bit late versus Villa. You have a chance to change the game whilst you're drawing, and he's slow. He doesn't want to use. He'd rather bleed than just bring someone on that he doesn't love as much. Like, that's so dangerous for me, and it's something I complained about last year. He has players that he loves, and he'll be a bit like, he'll accept their faults. Like Zinchenko can make mistake after mistake after mistake, and he will play. Jorginho the same, because he likes them a bit more.
There's definitely a favorite, and like before I go, like I'm going to read off. Thank you again, mate, for your contribution. We have those players, but the manager is not platforming them. A word that I love to use. Look, I think the issue is that he definitely has a group of players that he trusts, and then a group of players that he goes in and out of trusting, and that seems to be a major frustration. The one thing that I'm going to say, and again, not between us, but just general frustrations that I have on the timeline, is when we talk about a run-in that so far is yet to be defined, and we've seen things this season that are distinctly different from last season that people choose to ignore. It means that I struggle with understanding the perspective that A, we haven't improved, that B, we haven't seen a squad capable of doing something special where, like, for a moment, think about the objectives you're demanding from the team. You're asking them to beat potentially the greatest EPL side that we've ever seen, as well with one of the best managers that Liverpool has ever seen. And if he was to do it, he would be the youngest manager to have ever done it, period. And in this era, I'm going to ask you, if Mikel is to win the Premier League, where does that put him in the top 10 categories of managers of all time in the Premier League to do it in this era?
I mean, it definitely
like, are we understanding the
I understand what
you're on it?
No, I completely understand. And in terms of your point about the run-in, for me, it's not even like the run-in is a term that we use, but for me, as I said to both of you, it's more the case of how much pressure we put ourselves under in these situations. So we'll have, for example, in the top four run-in, we had that period against Everton and Man United where we go away. We have these games of those 3 games against Palace, Southampton, and I think it was Brighton.
That's something I agree with, because I tweeted it earlier where I was like, one of the biggest things I think that's left of this team is that I want to see us stop losing in bunches. Like,
yeah,
I think
that's the thing. That's where my problem lies. That's where my problem lies, because I feel like we can't do things in the run-in until we stop putting ourselves under such pressure in these situations. We should, like, if we were anywhere near the team that we are now in December, we would be, that Villa would be a cushion loss. You know what I mean? Like, we'd be maybe 2 points clear or 3 points clear or something like this. Well, but right now it's just not the case.
Okay, but you know what? Here, I'm going to address this briefly, and then I'll let Chris do it. But I mean, at the end of the day, no one expects us to win the league. We should not be expected to win the league. I expected us to challenge for the league, and I truly believe that. But to sit there and say that you're guaranteed an outcome against this type of team, I think is ridiculous. I think it's disingenuous, and primarily it basically leads to you thinking differently of the squad, because it actually means that you believe that the squad is better than Manchester City there to expect us to win the league. And no one put us favorites. Not even the people that believed in this team the most.
And Liverpool, you even mentioned Liverpool.
Never mentioned Liverpool, who have come back and have done something else. So this is where I have the problem with. This is where the logic doesn't line up for me. But like, Chris, for you, like in general, where do you stand in general on the team? Because I still maintain we're a team that is on par for the double right now. We're 2 points off top. We're sitting there in a very good position against a quarterfinal that we'll really quickly preview before we log off, that we have tomorrow, going into the semifinals, and our first time in over. When's the last time that we were in the semifinals if we were to do it? I know it's been almost a decade.
09.
So
15 years.
So then I would love to know, for people that keep questioning the run-in, and from the other perspective, what is progress for people? Because I feel like we rewrite history because we get excited about what the team does. You go on a winning run, and those same people are not out in force. They say how great the team is. They agree it's the best performing team in the league. And then when we end up reaching these goalposts, it moves. The goalpost moves about expectation.
Let me just quickly before Chris goes. I'm just going to go here because it's very, very clear that this is something that happens. Before Sunday, before this game, we were seeing Liverpool bottled a 5-point lead to Arsenal, and Arsenal have now overtaken 8-point lead even, right? That was the narrative. Oh, they bottled it, and now we've overcome that deficit, got to a point where we're on top of the table, and now we're still in the race, but they've bottled it. No, motherfuckers, you decided that was your thing. You used us to banter Liverpool, and now you're trying to do the same thing because we've lost.
Can any team bottle at this point? We're in the middle of April, and there's 3 or 4 points split between the top 3 teams.
If you're more than 3, if more like 5 points adrift right now, you're out of it. We're 2 points. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 points behind.
2 points with higher goal difference.
City with high goal difference, right? I'm not saying we're favourites, but nothing's over. Like I don't think it happens. Personally, you guys probably. I know you guys have different opinions because you think City can drop points and there's too much to do. But I said from the beginning of the season, you can go back to our preview for the season. I was worried about that run-in with Spurs and United so close to each other at the end of the season. It just reeked of getting close and then just not being able to get it over the line. But we're not out of it. No, by no chance. And as George said, we're 90 minutes away from a first semi-final in 15 years in the Champions League. That's not something to silly. And this is why I was so angry at these podcasters, and so angry because it's not about the football. It's not about actually discussing what happens. It's about trying to get people angry. It's trying to get people upset, and it's not about what actually happens on the pitch. So it's not something that I'm willing to discuss here, because if at the end of the day your objective is to make people upset when you're meant to be a distraction from the day-to-day lives of whatever goes on in your life, what are we doing here? Is that what sells? And the other thing that annoys me is when you confront these guys about it, it's but we have to do what sells. Well, this is what sells. No. Okay, if you want to monetize stuff, make that your thing. Don't try and be like, we're for the fans, we're this, we're that. No, you're just trying to make a buck. So I'm not here to discuss these kind of bottle narratives. Fuck bottling. Fuck you, and fuck everyone who does everything, who pushes this shit. Okay, fuck it. Seriously.
We're gonna before we get shut down, we're gonna ask one question of Chris, and then I want a straight answer. And I'm going to put everybody on the spot. What is progress? So here, Alex is asking essentially, in order to win the league, that's what you have to do, assuming he means being perfect, essentially.
Okay, so
whether you expect it or not, which again, I have my thoughts, but I'm going to let you tackle this. The wider question is, are we just happy with competing and never winning? And the only reason I bring this up is because there's legitimately a narrative out there that Arteta is just the Brendan Rodgers for Arsenal. And it's not just said in passing comments. People genuinely believe he's not good enough in order to win trophies. So where do you stand essentially on this? Like, I don't understand why there's this narrative that we're just happy competing and never winning, despite only being in our second title challenge and having the youngest team and manager to ever do it. But we're there and people are asking these questions. So I definitely think we need to talk about it. So where do you stand on this topic?
So essentially 2 seasons into this title caliber team, we've done 2 historic things in 50 points in 19 games, our best ever start to a season, longest unbeaten streak to start a season apart from the Invincibles, which is unbeaten the whole season. We did that, and then this season we did the most points in a row to start a year in 2024. I think people expected us to go the whole year winning every game, which is 18 wins. 18 wins in a row, which has been done twice in English football history by Man City, and I think Liverpool 1920, just before COVID ended. I mean, COVID started. So we essentially, people expected something that has been done twice before, whilst not rating 15 people in the squad. People get angry when they see Nketiah and see these people, like they don't even rate the whole squad but expect it out of the team. For me, I'm not just happy I'm much happier competing than being where we were 2 years ago. That's the first thing. Than being eighth. I'm not happy not winning the league. Like I wouldn't be happy if we get knocked out to Bayern and end up finishing third. Obviously, that's poor. It's progression in Europe because we got knocked out earlier in the Europa League last year. So it's progression in that sense. But falling off now would be poor. I think this season has been pretty even. Liverpool have led for 10 game weeks. City 8, if you include the weekend, and us 8. Adding like Spurs, Brighton, Newcastle.
Genuine 3-horse split.
Yeah, genuinely, like that's what 26 of the current 32 game weeks. One of the 3 teams has been top. So it's been very consistent. One team go up and down, whatever.
In the last, I think, 3 weeks, sorry, just to interject, each one has taken a turn at being at the top.
Liverpool,
literally.
Arsenal, City. So I think consistently we've been up and down with them. In the head-to-head, we've been the better team. As Curran said, when we played Fulham, and Fulham is the main one because we lost, well, we dropped 4 points to them, home and away. So that's the main one. 5, yeah, we drew and lost. We dropped 5 points to them, home and away. So that was a very negative fixture for us. But the start of the season, the start of the year, 2024 has been incredible. Where we dropped points, people expected it to be Spurs or United. I think that's even heightened the issue because they just saw Villa go to City, get spanked 4-1, 5, whatever it was, for holding hat-trick. And then people, I think, in their minds already said, oh, we're going to drop points at some point. It's probably going to be in one of the derbies, one of Chelsea.
Which I've never understood because we have the best top 6 record this season, the best head-to-head.
Yeah, exactly. 2 years in a row, we've been the best. But so the expectation is we drop it versus a big team, and then that doesn't happen. So then creates an even bigger issue. But then Man City, people say they've been rubbish, but they're unbeaten in 27 games in all competitions. Liverpool since November have lost 2 games in the league against us, and the game they just lost in the weekend. So the teams we're competing against they're doing the same thing as us. They're doing the exact same thing as us by not losing consistently. So at some point, someone's going to fall. For me, and I know probably George agrees with me, City's going to fall at some point. It's probably really normal. And if they don't fall, then they're going to do another treble and go 36 games unbeaten to end the season, which is
with another
historic.
record.
And they deserve to win the league if they do that. But I don't think Man City is going to do that. So I'm not just happy competing. And I do expect a bounce back. I do expect that we do well versus Bayern, and then on the weekend I expect us to change something and use more of the squad. But yeah, I think it's very dangerous, like, to bottle it when what were we above City? 1 point ahead of City?
No, can I like ask this bottling thing? It's really inflammatory for just bullshit reasons, let's call it, because you have an agenda and a narrative that you want to be right. That's what it's called. And I'm going to be very strong right now. Bottling it, okay, is when...
what Liverpool, or what we did last year. Liverpool, sorry to cut you off here, but there was a point in the season, 22 games in, Liverpool is 10 points ahead of us. 22 games in. Now we're above them, obviously, on goal difference. You can call that a bottle job. Last season, what we did, we bottled it. 1 point ahead it can't be a bottle job. All you have to do is draw one of your last 8 games, and the other team can win the league. So I don't think it's a bottle job. But yeah, carry on with what you're saying. So
yeah, no, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's people wanting to kind of be right and be told that they're right, despite them being very, very wrong, and they've just been pessimistic for no reason. At the end of the day, a bottle would imply that you've basically got anything, for me, at least 8 to 10 points or more of distance between you and the eventual league leaders. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that, I definitely think that City falter. I completely disagree with people that believe that they're going to go on an historic run. And like I maintain with Chris, if they do it, I will hold my hands up and say, congratulations on making history. And it basically comes down to my point. So what, you're going to be upset because the team that you're competing against has literally made a historic run? Like, follow your own logic. That's not competing and never winning. That's competing against arguably the greatest side to have ever played in the Premier League. There's a very, very big difference. And so I think when it comes down to me, and I'll be really specific, and I want to ask you both because we have to do Bayern, I really want to define bottle for each of you guys in 1 or 2 sentences. And I want you guys to define progression, because I want to be very, very clear here. And I don't want goalposts to move, because I find that the goalposts move far too much in these discussions. So I'll go to Curran first. What is a bottle to you? What should we expect and say that is progression from this season?
Well, for me, bottling, like the term bottling, first of all, fuck that term. But if we're going to use it, then you're going to have to really define what that means. It means, to me anyway, underperforming your performance for 70 or 65, 70%, 75% of the season, and having that drop off because of the pressure circumstances that you put on, you're put under because you've done so well to get yourself in the in
Can
that
we
position.
still do that by your definition?
Of course we can. And I mean, can we? No, no, we can't.
I think if we lose every game for the rest of the season,
like genuinely, like for me in my head, I was like, yeah, we could. Then I thought about it, and I was like, no, because the thing is, the levels that we're playing at are not specifically hindered by the pressure. It's because we're not. The only games we've lost this season, in my opinion, is because we've either not been able to put the ball in the back of the net, or we've conceded goals and moments that we're not focused defensively. It's not as if we've been done by a bit of quality in that the game. Those the main circumstances for me that we've lost points. Like, for example, the Fulham draw at the beginning of the season, Zinchenko turns off, or the concedes the corner for Palania, or Liverpool, Zinchenko turns off, and we go into the Salah scores, or just yesterday Zinchenko turns off, and we really get into a position where the offside trap was crazy. So maybe there's a theme there. I'm not sure. But if there's really something that we need to consider, has the level of our play dropped off because of the pressure that has been inserted? That is the definition of bottling. Progression for me is being able to not be able to basically to improve on your performances from the last season, be able to understand how you are going to get into a position to win a title, or win a Champions League, be able to compete on more fronts. Because if you're not able to get into a position where you can win a league or Champions League, so for example, win a Carabao, win an FA Cup, because we haven't done that since 2020. So these kinds of things where you can say, well, you know what, if we're not quite there this season, we can go on a long run in one of the cups, or we can make a UCL run, or we can, if we are on it, we can make a run for the league and try and make something go. But for me, progression is being able to improve year on year, not just rest on your laurels or have even regress because you've lost key players like Granit Xhaka.
What's that look like this season, though, mate?
This season, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've told you this before. I would have Champions League for me is progression would be advancing from this round. I think this is the minimum for me. I thought the quarterfinals was the minimum, but again, it depends on the run in to get there. And I think Porto being the tough tie it was, does mean that we've shown that we're not going to be minnows in Europe for the next coming seasons. In the league, I think the main thing I said was by game week 35, game week 36, maybe even game week 37, are you still in the race? Because that's what we weren't last season. Yeah. When can you take it to a final day? Can you take it to maybe 2 weeks out? Can you really push City to the limit? And if you can,
Can we last 2 more weeks essentially with being
essentially, yeah. Can we get to a point where City have to be City for 38 weeks to beat us? That's where I thought where we couldn't do last year. We took it to about, I think it was week 35, if I'm not mistaken.
That's when they
week
won.
34. Yeah, something like that. We couldn't take it beyond that. I think making sure that we eclipse that and try to get over this at the end of April, everything's done. And Mays doesn't compete. We don't compete for anything. That, for me, would be progression for this season. And what progression will be for next season will depend on how we finish this season. And we have to... the last thing I'm going to say is not everything revolves around transfers. We have to stop getting this idea that progression revolves around the makeup of the squad. You have to develop players. You have to develop tactics. You have to develop your usage of the squad. And you have to develop game management as well. So these things have to all go into it. It's not just, oh my God, we got some nice new players this season. We're definitely going to progress. That's not how it works. Because the problems we've seen with Declan not playing deeper, I think that we are quite clear. We've either got a vacuum behind him because we're not winning second balls in midfield, or we've got a vacuum in front of him because we're not progressing the ball into the left side of the pitch. So I think that there's got to be more than just transfers. You have to have a well-rounded side and not have players that are going to take the mickey for half the season and then try to win, get a new contract at the end of the season. I'm done with it. I need at least some kind of contribution from these guys. I need that. I'm fed up of believing in players on ability because they have ability and not seeing it. I need to see it. Either it's Mikel's issue or it's the player's issue or it's both. So that's the other thing we need to talk about progression-wise.
Yeah, for me, I don't think unless we capitulate and like draw every game left or lose every game left and finish third by like 6 points, I don't think you can say we bottled it. We bottled the running. I don't think the pressure got to us because you can't say in November and December when you're losing to Fulham, the pressure is getting to you because it's just a normal game in the middle of the season that you don't, in your mind, think this is going to lose us the league when you don't win on the 31st of December it was. But for me, progression this season would be to sustain this and then go semis of the Champions League because you massively improved on what you did in Europe last year, going out to Sporting early, losing a penalty shootout against a Portuguese team at home. We flipped that completely. We beat a Portuguese team at home on the same caliber in the Champions League, go up against Bayern, which like the whole narrative around Bayern is, will we lose 5-1 again? Every time you face Bayern, is the last 3 times you've played Bayern, you've conceded 5. Will you do it again? We don't. That story hasn't been told yet. Tomorrow is the end of that story, end of that chapter in our season. We will know what happens, and then after that, hopefully going into this weekend when we speak again on Wolves, we've beat Bayern, no injuries, no red cards. Then I'll be like, UCL semis. Well, how many 6 Premier League games left? We're literally a Man City draw away from winning the league, assuming we win again. Assuming we win every game, we'll be a Man City draw and 2 wins away from a potential double, really. So, that can't. That's not progression. Then I don't want to swear about flip it. Then.
No, do it. Because the thing is, people are going to be going off on things that I just refuse to understand. I like, it's not even I want to try and understand that what they're trying to think. I refuse. I refuse to understand why you've gone from we're winning the league to Arteta out in 2 weeks. I refuse to.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, man. And it's not even 2 weeks. It's 2 days. Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah,
2 days. 2 days. So I'm like, people are just throwing their feelings about being wrong. Like, accept it. You're idiots. You're wrong. You just accept it. It's not about.
Problem is I just made like I just don't. I think they go too hard. Either if you're a positive or a negative fan, you go too far, and you're not able to sit there and say, "Listen, I went too far." I think they're doing a little bit better than I thought. I lost my head for a moment, and then, they're unable to be objective. I think, factually speaking, I said this at the beginning of the season. You couldn't have expected more than the quarters, given our history in the competition. I thought that was really disingenuous. No matter how
We've done
great
it twice in like 2-3 decades.
Yeah,
So.
no matter how great field team is good they get in Europe, Arsenal have had a very poor European heritage. So we've already done the minimum. I'm with you guys on that. I think going to the semis is not just progression, but it shows advancement, actually, because you beat a big European superhouse that many people believe has the potential.
Not just the big one, the one that battered us, the
Yeah,
one that stood us out.
Reduce the pain.
Yeah.
Like,
So
the other thing quickly I'll just say is when it comes to tomorrow, and we do have to discuss it quickly. Look, that right hand side, we have to. The funny thing is our right hand side
on it
is
because I want to finish the progression. I'll come back to you on. I'll come back to you. So again, going to the semis, which is, by the way, something I really do believe is going to happen. It's going to be a big told you so to many people, because I think currently, like when you describe a deep run, I'm sorry, reaching the freaking semifinals is a deep run
on the harder side
league,
on the harder side of the draw.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And so I'm just like, I feel like people say things and they don't listen to what they say. Like, that is a deep run in a cup competition. It is us battling on all fronts.
I'm not trying to be rude, but like it's not like we're going to be playing a semi-final Inter AC last year. No. That's not going to be we're going to be playing one of City or Real Madrid. So if we go out to one of City or Real Madrid, either the European champions or the 14-time European champions,
or the team that won it the year before.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be like, and this is the other thing. I don't think people realize that teams can't, like, out of curiosity, I was looking at some of the Bayern tweets, that they do like Emir Samia and like the Bayern Munich. I just had a look through the comments, because they've posted us and they're literally saying they're going to try and set up in with their defense. They're going to try and set up to really absorb the pressure. People are acknowledging our defensive record. People understand that we have a great defense. People understand that they're worried about Saka on the right. People understand that we're not some sort of pushovers, even though they want to say it. They really want to say it. They understand that we have serious threats. Like, there's this mentality switch between actually going through what you want to say, which what you know is correct to say. You know that
and it's just, and I think like the frustrating part for me is like, I mean, yes, I know we haven't beat.
We were saying if.
Listen to the conversation, because like I said, I've already said the quarters should, for any fan, be the minimum expectation of Europe. Look, guys, like, I'm going to be really honest. I don't think people give the credit of this season that it's due. For me, progression was making sure that the title chase and the title run-in of last season wasn't a fluke. It wasn't us playing in moments. I wanted to dominate games. And, let's be factual. Arsenal play the best football in the league, and they do so by every single metric. That's flipping progression. We played for half a season and then played catch-up for another half of the season to get us to a title run-in that we ended up bottling from injuries. No? Is that not a description of last season? So now Arsenal are deep in April, on top of every single metric in the league, playing the best football in the league, and dominating for 90 minutes, not 20 or 30 minutes. And you're telling me that's not progression? I really struggle with this concept. Look, if we sit there and lose every single game, then of course I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to say the team that you're underperforming, you're not doing it. But like, why are we doing ifs and hypotheticals on the least likely situation? Because then I can equally tell you, oh, we're going to win everything, and City are going to lose every game in the league. But you'd laugh at me for that positivity. But I can't laugh at the negativity. That's what I don't get. So for me, I'm kind of not too far from Curran, to be honest with you. I think, like, I don't want more than 5 points separated between us in the next 2 weeks. Like, I want us to maintain this pace within 5 points till basically May. And I think that would be progression. I can't sit there and expect the title. I still think we'll do it. I'm not going to be somebody that doesn't want to put their balls on the table, I will do that. But I still think that in terms of expectation, you probably just want to be there within the last month. That's a deep run. That's a deep challenge, and it's against probably the most contested title challenge in decades. So combine that with the quarters, it's progression for me.
Yeah, it's Klopp's farewell tour and Pep trying to do, 4 in a row, which has never been done before, and then do another treble, back-to-back treble, which has never been done before either.
Back-to-back treble makes them undisputed the best team to have ever been in the Premier League.
Yeah,
if they were
because it'll be 4 in a row plus winning 6 trophies, all back-to-back. Like the best team in Europe 2 years in a row, and the best team in England across England 2 years in a row. But that's what I face. So you have to be.
Unfortunately, sorry to cut you off, but we have like 5 minutes, or at least I have 5 minutes, that we've really got to talk about Bayern. So really, really quickly, give me your guys' view on the game. I just think like you can't ignore the Serge Gnabry, Coman, and Davies, both suspension and injuries. Like they're going to play a huge factor. The ability for them to transition and outlets is going to be difficult. I think Sané is an issue. I think we all know who we'd like to have in terms of the team, in terms of dealing with that. But how do you guys see the game generally going, and how do you want us to set up? Like, are you guys feeling like we need to press man-to-man and be aggressive against them, or are you guys more thinking we should be conservative and choose our moments and let Bayern come to us, essentially?
I've watched them recently. I did my due diligence, watched them recently. They struggle a lot when you let them play up higher in the pitch. Like, they can't really progress the ball well. Consistently anyways. I think they don't have the best runners, they don't have the best athleticism, especially when you take out Davies. Like Guerrero, left back, running back on the transition is a very, very different thing to witness than Alphonso Davies doing it. It's what we're going to face. Probably going to be the Guerrero and Eric Dyer, probably going to be the left-hand side of the defense. So yeah, I think transitions will be key in this game. Also, I think we basically brought Leroy Sané and Gnabry into the game by being so high up, like everyone being above the halfway line. Away from home, I don't think we've really done that. Arteta has proven in big games like first City, he's willing to literally say, do what you can to break us down. We're going to show threat on the counter, and we're willing to play like that for 90 minutes. I don't think we'd be as deep as we were against City. I think there'll be times in the game where we are pinning Bayern back into their half, but I just think with the legs and the way we've shown that we can really fall off physically, it will be dangerous, I think, to take the game to them and say we're going to try to control this game for 90 minutes without the potential legs to fend off the counters for 90 minutes. So for me, I think we'll sit back a lot more than we did at the Emirates, and hopefully we play Martinelli and the other outlets that we can. Smith Rowe, big transition threats who can defend, who are a bit more fresh than like Jorginho, for example, or Trossard, for example. Let the players be a bit more fresh and more dangerous in transitions to win. I think we do win. Can I say my prediction, or should I?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I think we win 2-1. It'll be a 2-1 win. I don't know which order the goals will go in, but yeah, pretty confident we'll get a nice goal from the right-hand side, quick combinations in behind Guerrero, and then just a Martinelli banger from the left. That's what I think. He'll score from outside the box. It's like big narrative game, and then we go into the weekend, everyone's happy. That's what I think.
Lovely jubbly. Curran, how about you, mate?
I think, honestly, I've said this for a while. Champions League games, these kind of games are one on the team sheet. You get the lineup right, we can win this game. If we're playing Zinchenko or we're playing something like that, it's just not going to work. You need a back line of White, Gabriel Saliba, and Tomiyasu. If you have that, then you can block the wide areas, you can block transitions, and you can actually be compact when we need to be compact. We're not going there to try and win the game in the first 20, 30 minutes. We're going there to win 90 minutes. So play the correct team. Make sure that you're not going to really lose the game in the first 30 minutes, and take it to them. Don't just, I agree we should sit back and not be as aggressive as we were at the Emirates. We can't be underactive either. We have to be We have to probe that our right hand side, their left. We have to get Odegaard central, not on the right, central in the final third or deep. We can't have him in the right half space spamming crosses or trying to do little pretty combinations. We need him either central so he can play those through balls to the left or the reverse ball to the right, or he needs to be deep dictating play so we can have Bukayo in the space he needs with White on the overlap. We can't have him in between. If he's in between, that's those two players right there, we're going to have the same clog. And we need to be proactive or dire. We need to make sure that we can get Bukayo on him, and so we can get that left-footed finish we had in the first leg against him. I think that's the key to winning this game, and that's those two main things: keeping the wide areas compact, making sure that we use the touchline well, keep their outlets wide, don't allow them inside, and secondly, make sure that we can isolate Saka on Dyer. If we can do that, we win this game. And honestly, I'll know I know if we're going to win or lose this game by the team sheet. And if we can put the correct lineup out, I'm 100% confident we can win. But if I see, I don't know, I'm going to keep saying it, Zinchenko on the left hand side when we had Kirill struggle, and he's worse than Kirill defensively. I struggle to see how we win this game. So I need to make sure that those key principles are addressed. And if we can do that, we have a chance. I'm going to say 2-1 after extra time. I don't think this is going to be a game won in 90 minutes. I want to say we win. I'm still going to take the side that this is going to be a very, very hard-fought game. I don't think this is going to be a game where you're going to win. You're going to blitz a team, especially because both teams are so tactically aware. You saw how Tuchel on the break against us was how he basically coached those automations where he got his wingers in behind and made sure that he could capitalize on mistakes that we made. So we've seen teams try to do this whole wide split centre back to basically engage their six behind the press and run into space. So we need to be aware of that as well. So there are areas they can affect us, but there are areas we can hurt them as well. And I do give us the edge, but it's going to be very, very tight.
Yeah, I'm not going to keep this too long. I just think our right-hand side is the best part of our team, and their left-hand side is the most depleted part of their team. So that's going to be where we win or lose the game, fundamentally. And I think that we do well. I actually think the goals come in bunches, personally, and I don't know when it's going to be, but I've gone for a 2-1, same scoreline. We're all unification. I think we win it in 90 minutes. And I think that we do it off a set piece, because I actually think Bayern were extremely vulnerable on set pieces. We should have scored on a set piece. And I definitely think Saka is not going to let what happened in the last leg go. And I think he will score. And, I really think that we're going to see a tight game. You know what I don't want to see? I just don't want to see the transitions. And I want to see, if we do play Jorginho, he has to play in the Liverpool at home tactical role of him playing ahead, keep Declan Rice in the center of the pitch. That's what I want to see. And I don't want to see us running back to goal consistently. I want to stop that transition mindset. And I'll be honest.
What would your thoughts be if you saw Jorginho, but then you saw Zinchenko, so Jorginho, Zinchenko left-hand side defensively? What do you think?
I think that we'd struggle. I think that Sane would put us under trouble. And I think that that would actually make me believe that we could potentially lose the tie. Like, I think it's that bad to have both. I don't think one is an issue. No, I think Zinchenko is a much bigger issue than Jorginho, but having both is too much of a destabilization for me. And I think that we wouldn't have learned our lessons, and I'd be really frustrated.
Last thing before we go, what's you two's ideal lineup tomorrow? Because everyone is fit.
Ideal, like quickly, probably Raya, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Tommy, Partey, Odegaard, Declan Rice, Martinelli, Havertz, Saka.
Same, legit same. Like, actually, I want to see if we can get Jesus in there somewhere, because I think starting him in these kind of, I don't want him coming on. I want him trying to make an effect from the off. I don't know who I drop though. That's the thing. Maybe go Rice, Odegaard, and then no Partey just Havertz in sort of like a 10 slash second striker role, and have him and Jesus together. Maybe, I don't know if we've got the legs to get through the midfield. It's either that or what George said. I'm going to go with the Partey route because I think that's a bit more secure. But I do see the argument for Jesus to be in this game. I think his ability
His record.
his ability to dribble in tight spaces, especially in the box when we're going to need that kind of
It's just too
pizzazz.
emotional for me. I want him, but I want him for 20 minutes. Control the freaking chaos. Just for
I'd want him for 60. I think if we have him on, personally, I think if we had him on, he'd be first sub, and he would be able to bring someone on for him, and he could really affect the game.
I think he'll be more dangerous versus tired Eric Dyer again. Like, I think the way he makes Eric Dyer and De Ligt commit, I've noticed it recently. Like, they really bite. Like when he chopped on the edge of the box, they really he's sliding in the edge of the box to try to win that ball. That's ridiculous. So bringing him on against the tired Eric Dyer could be dangerous. But yeah, I think any midfield that's like, it could be for me like Rice, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, I would be fine with seeing that. I wouldn't be happy seeing Jorginho dive. I just think if we sit deep, Jorginho is more dangerous because of the balls in behind. I think passing on the floor, like when we've been so high up, there's no real space to chip the ball in behind. And ever since I've seen him as a player since like 2016, 17, I thought there's no danger when you make him play football on the floor. So when you do that to him, I think he's a lot more limited. So yeah,
I do think that if it is Georgie, it has to be in a game where his ability to play the ball over the top is something that could really be affected, and that's not going to be the case in this kind of game. So
yeah, you'll have to look. I think it's going to be a close game.
Who do you think will play? Say we go through, assuming we go through that. Say our predictions are right. Who do we play in the
City?
Oh God, I don't know, because I think Madrid in the Champions League is something.
I think that first
City at the Etihad.
Yeah, but that first leg was so good. Like, yeah, real chaos. If Real Madrid can do that again, they probably win.
Honestly, if Carlo does it,
it's not really Carlo does it, then but it's Madrid for me.
If Carlo does it, then it's wraps. Like, I can't lie to you. It's pretty much wraps, because going to the Etihad and winning with the team that he has,
which is worse for us, by the way.
Yeah,
because I
100%.
think City going through, it's actually beneficial for them and worse for us.
Agreed.
I think we've already shown that. I hope it's City, because I think we've shown home in a way we can do a job. We can beat them, but also we can literally say to them, "You're not scoring today."
But we have a plan against City. We actually have an executable plan against City. I know we can win at City.
Yeah.
I don't know what Madrid's
doing. Real Madrid, the unknown scares you then.
Unfortunately, guys, I do got to go. So thank you guys for sticking with us. We went for a good hour and a half now. Thank you so much for all the support. We really appreciate it. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we hope to be back with some more videos shortly. We really appreciate you guys and the support for sticking with us in this little hiatus. And we hope to give you guys some content in the upcoming months. So cheers, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.